So let's cut to the quick on this. The Pittsburgh Penguins, once again in the month of November, largely dominated their opponent. The Pittsburgh Penguins, once again in November, lost. The Seattle Kraken score an overtime winner. The Penguins now 0-3 in overtime this season. Seattle wins 3-2 here at PPG Paints Arena. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now platforms. Quickly do me a favor, like, subscribe, do all of that stuff. Let's dive into about 3 or 4 main points from the game. First of all, after the game, Coach Dan Muse did not spare the rod and spoil the child. Went right after his team. First question, listen, we've all been a little bit conditioned in the Pittsburgh media. We know what we can ask to try to get, some answers, some quotes. First question is a little bit of a leading, hey, you played well, right? There's something, you played terribly Friday, you played pretty well Saturday, that's something, right? And Dan Muse kind of paused. He looked with you could see the edge, the anger come right to the surface, not at the reporter. And it wasn't me for once, by the way. It wasn't me for, you guys know how I've upset past Penguins coaches with fairly direct questions. But no, Muse kind of paused, squirmed a little bit, cocked his head, and let loose. Not good enough. We can't keep talking about good things. We need points. We had opportunities. We got 1 of 4 points. Not good enough. I'm not going to come in here and say good things. We have to find ways to get more opportunities. Take away one of their opportunities. Sure, our process was better. We did good things, but not good enough. And the tone and the edge with which he said it, talking to a couple of my colleagues with whom I trust, and we all sort of had the same reaction. It was the best Penguins post-game press conference in well more than a decade. I don't mean best in terms of entertaining. I mean best in terms of honest, raw, message delivered. The team as well. Look, unfortunately, only 2 players really stayed behind to talk with the media. Sidney Crosby in the back of the room, Brian Rust on the side of the room. We got to pick one or the other, as the other players in disgust, slamming socks into the laundry cart, jerseys down into the laundry. I won't say storming out. It was more like just swaggering out with an absolute look of disgust, anger, sort of almost a seething to a man. That was the reaction here at PPG Paints Arena. No, there were no participation trophies delivered on Saturday. So into the game, the actual game itself, you really saw the shortcomings of the Penguins roster. Energy, they had it. Intent, they had it. Opportunity, sure. Intensity, all of that. What they didn't have was a third player to finish the next pass, make that pass to spring what was available. And I don't want to make this seem like a criticism of Connor Dewar. He's playing, well above his pay grade on the Penguins' first line. That's not working. Kevin Hayes on the second line. Great game last Sunday, but that's 3 of 4 games now that he's struggled. The Friday game in Sweden was no bueno. The Friday game here in Pittsburgh, no bueno. And the Saturday game, I would say, really, the Malkin line needed more. To the third line, with Novak and Kindle. And I detailed this in the Pittsburgh Hockey Now report card. I want you to check that out because I don't want to entirely rehash everything that's in the report card. Look at the time that Matty Beniers was open on the tying goal in the third period. That can't happen. Everybody else was connected and covering the proper man, except Novak. And it wasn't just a breakdown. It was a prolonged, we're talking 5, 6, 7 seconds here as Seattle cycled on the wall behind me here. Matt Dumba, Ben Kindle maintained a seal, keeping Seattle to the perimeter. However, Novak didn't cover his man behind him, and then when he vacated the middle of the ice, creating a giant passing lane, well, Sergei Murashov was pretty much a duck in the shooting gallery at that point, because there's Beniers inside the dot with nobody around. That's a problem. The fourth line, Joona Koppanen had some good games last season, had some good games to start this season, but his play is tailing off rapidly. And Danton Heinen, he is, and he had some good looks and opportunities. He had the breakaway on Friday, hits the glass, hits the post tonight. Found some space and found some shots, but not finishing. So you go through the entirety of the Penguins lineup, and I'm building to something, I promise. The entirety of the Penguins lineup, and you see the weak links sort of holding back the pairs. That's what brings me to this point. Now it's time for Kyle Dubas to act. The Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins won 1-0 over Providence on Saturday. Care to guess who scored the only goal? Rutger McGroarty. Perhaps he should be en route to Pittsburgh before Wednesday's game, should he not? If not McGroarty, if they don't feel like he's in game shape yet to play more than 12 or 14 minutes at the NHL level, Tristan Brose remains a viable option. Avery Hayes, healthy enough to be playing now every night again in Wilkes-Barre. Surely there are options. Also, I will point out that Tristan Jarry is probably going to get healthy sometime in the next week, giving the Penguins 3 goalies. That's one more than they need, while other teams are desperately looking for goaltenders. I did the math before the game on Saturday. Perhaps you saw in my tweet that there are a half dozen would-be playoff teams with a team save percentage under .890. 5 of those teams are under .885. You're telling me that those teams wouldn't like some goaltending help? So that's kind of where we're at as we head to Thanksgiving. The Penguins will probably get to the Turkey Day in a playoff spot. But make no mistake, Dan Muse's absolute flogging of his team on Saturday spoke to this very singular issue. The playoffs are the goal. This isn't about a rebuild, not on the ice level, not on the bench, not amongst the players. Kyle Dubas might still hold that philosophy, but these guys don't share it. It's about the playoffs for them. And that's exactly what Muse's message was, even if he didn't say that magical word or phrase, Stanley Cup playoffs. He didn't have to. We need points, said it all. Where the Penguins go from here, I'm not exactly sure, because they are dominating and they are losing. I do think it's Dubas' turn to act now, because Ricard Raquel is still weeks away from returning. And even if so, can you count on Justin Brazeau to add that much of a lift to the lineup. He's going to have to get back into game shape, and in all respect, he had a great start. It might be a little bit unfair to expect him to take the spot or to perform as a 30-goal scorer. That might be asking a bit much, but it's where the Penguins are right now. From PPG Paints Arena, hopefully you enjoyed Light Up Night or whatever you did on Saturday. Sunday is an off day for the Penguins. I'll be on WPXI's Final Word, so check me out. But of course, I'll be publishing tons of content all day on PittsburghHockeyNow.com. Check it out and have fun.